Hello, and welcome to this episode of My Golden Life. I'm Lisa Kneller, your host. And today we're going to look at why passionate career shifts lead to greater fulfillment. I've had my own career shift in the past few years, and I'm excited to talk about this subject with my special guests, Amy and Nancy Harrington from the Passionistas Project. Let me tell you a little bit about these two special gals. So, sisters Amy and Nancy Harrington founded the Passionistas Project out of a deep desire to empower women around the world. They are eager to share their knowledge about building community, crafting safe spaces for women, the power of storytelling, and navigating professional transitions. Both co-founders walked away from high-profile jobs in Hollywood to work together. Amy was the VP of post-production and visual effects for all feature films at WarnerBros, working on movies like Harry Potter and the Matrix franchises. Nancy left the ad agency where she created Oscar campaigns for Miramax. Their career as celebrity interviewers has included chats with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Rita Moreno, Lily Tomlin, Laverne Cox, Carol Burnett, and more. Now, through their global Passionistas Project Sisterhood, podcast, and Power of Passionistas summits, they strive to inspire women to follow their passions and join forces in the fight for equality for all. So welcome, Amy and Nancy. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it is our absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So, midlife is a time when women in particular begin to question their purpose. And after raising a family and potentially, nurturing work or a career at the same time, and for a long time, women often need a change. And as you know, they get frustrated, confused, bored, anxious, and antsy for something new. So tell me, why did you decide to transition out of your original careers in entertainment? And I'd like to talk about what your path was like leaving those careers to founding the Passionistas Project.
Well, our path, as you can tell from our intro there, it was a very long and winding road. Our original careers, Amy went right to Hollywood after graduating from college, and she worked her way up very quickly. When she took that position at Warner Brothers, she was in her late 20s. She was a vice president at a major motion picture movie studio. I actually had a career even before the one mentioned in the bio, where I had my own graphic design studio and my own theater company with my husband. That career ended because Amy was 3,000 miles away and I missed her terribly, and I moved out to California. And that is when I took the job doing the Oscar campaigns for Miramax. So, but what prompted our move at that point was we were both, and I don't usually speak for Amy, but I know this part of her story. She was at a point in her career where it was becoming a little redundant, and she didn't love it as much as she did in the beginning. And she always promised herself that if she ever got to that point, she would leave, because the job was so much fun that she felt like whoever was doing it should really be enjoying it. I was at a very high pressure job doing the Academy Award campaigns for Miramax. And honestly, I left because I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I don't like working for other people, and I had been doing it for 3 years and I had had enough. So we both knew that we wanted to do something else, but we didn't know what that was. But we knew that we wanted to do it together, because we had both been in places where we couldn't 100% trust the people we were working with, and we knew that there was no one else on the planet we could trust more than each other. So we set off on this long and winding road that led us to the world of celebrity interviewing. And and we love doing celebrity interviews. We had so much fun doing celebrity interviews, but we also felt like we wanted to do something more impactful. So
Mm.
our career shift into the Passionistas Project was almost accidental. It wasn't really planned, but because we wanted to do something more impactful, we started our podcast because we thought we can interview women who are following their passions and hopefully inspire other women to do that as well. And and that led us down. We can talk more about it, but that led us down this beautiful path of establishing this sisterhood that we started a year ago. So, and that is when we discovered our purpose, although we didn't, it's sort of, like I said, it sort of happened accidentally.
Yeah, and some people say nothing happens by accident, but there's a natural progression, I think, when you're in tune with your who you are, your identity. And I would love to talk about that a little bit. And Amy, do you have anything to add to that? Because you had a pretty, both of you had a pretty amazing job, which some people would just be really envious of, right? You had to be making good money. You had to be hobnobbing with some important people. So anything you'd like to say about that shift for you?
No, I mean, I think what Nancy said is really true. Nancy and I have been pop culture fanatics since we were born. Our whole family is creative. Our parents met in art school, and we have a sister who's Emmy-winning filmmaker, and a brother who's a musician, and a sister who's a fiber artist. And then there's the two of us. And so creativity, it was almost would have been weird if I had become an accountant or Nancy had gone into the insurance industry. Um, but I loved what I was doing when I was there. And it was, yes, I made great money. I got to, travel around the world, first, first class accommodations and nice meals. And yeah, I was working with Warner Brothers was the biggest, best studio in the world at the time. So I worked with the greatest filmmakers, directors, producers. Um, and it was fun. It was the beginning of digital visual effects, really. So we were some of the first people to make CG characters that were, human looking characters and water and things that were just huge challenges. And it was really exciting. Every day I was learning 50 things a day, and I'm a very curious person, so I love that. And like Nancy said, it hit a point where it was becoming like, oh, we're working on the third Harry Potter movie. Okay, well, so he's gonna fly, and this is gonna happen. And it just became kind of redundant, and I wanted new challenges. And also, like Nancy said, I was a young woman working in a very male-dominated world, which I embraced fully, and I loved many, many aspects of that. I liked the male energy because that's what I grew up in, and my career. I thought that was normal. But I was always or often the only woman in the room. I was much younger, and I had to just be one of the guys. I set my mind to this concept of like, I'm gonna fit in. My mission is for them to never think about the fact that I'm the girl in the room. I want them to crack their dirty jokes. I want them to talk like they would to each other. And it was only awkward for me when all of a sudden it was like, oh, you're a girl. We shouldn't have done that. We should have said that. So now to have created this space with Nancy that is entirely feminine in energy and all about supporting other women and feeding off of the energy of other women is such a contrast to what I had done, and it's such a beautiful thing. Like I wish I had been older when I was at Warner Brothers and had the presence of mind to be like, all right, girls, I'm going to create this, let's all go to coffee every Friday and let's embrace our womanhood. But I was so young, it didn't occur to me. And now I get to do that in a space where Nancy and I completely set the tone. And so it's a really beautiful kind of full circle moment for me in my career.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, I'm trying to think of a way I can relate to what you did. And I found myself in a creative environment back in my 30s, working for an ad agency. And so I got to be part of that whole creative process, even though I wasn't a creative, I was more on the account side and the traffic side. And and I was really starting to make my way into the account side, and I was about ready to interview with another ad agency. I was ready to move on, and then I got pregnant. And then I thought, you know what? I think I'm just going to stay home for a while, which was a big shift because I went to college late. I started my career late. I was having so much fun. But then life changes, right? You make decisions and you decide to do something new and you just take a risk and see what happens.
Yeah.
I remember my husband saying, we're not going to be able to do anything now that you're staying home. We can't go out to dinner. We can't travel. I was like, whoa. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's talk about some of the fears you two had when you, I mean, it sounds like to me like okay, you did these interviews with celebrities. I didn't even know that you had done that, which is so fun. I love interviewing people, as you might be able to tell. But the Passionistas project is only what, a year old, right? Is that what you're saying? Or
Well, the sisterhood, the online community is a year old. We established that in March. We started the podcast in 2018.
oh, okay,
So
okay,
we've had the Passionistas Project for a while, but at that point, it was just a podcast. Once a week, we, interviewed someone, and that was it. And then it escalated into a movement, really. So that took some time over a period of years.
okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about your fears. What, like, in relation to what are other women feeling? They want to jump ship too, and they want to try something new, and it's scary.
Right.
What are the fears?
Yeah.
It's scary. I mean, it was especially scary for me to leave because, like Nancy said, I graduated from college and I went straight into entertainment. And I was one of the lucky people in entertainment who I really never stopped working. So usually in television, there used to be a hiatus where every summer you'd be without work and then you'd be wondering if your TV show was coming back and, oh, okay. Or if you were bouncing from movie to movie, it was like, well, hopefully I'll get another gig when this one ends. But I worked consistently, and then I was in the studio system, and I worked as an executive for 5 or 6 years. So I was under contract, so I knew I had work coming in, and I was making good money. And so when Nancy's like, I was ready to go, but when Nancy was like, it's going to be fine, the money's going to come. Money always comes when you need it. And that's what Nancy taught me. And so that was my biggest fear then, and it continues to be my biggest concern even today, is it's complicated, being an entrepreneur, especially if you've come from a corporate structure of any kind or a small business that's sustaining you. Um, Being an entrepreneur there's a risk to, okay, how are we doing this month? How are we going to get through this month? So that's continues to be my biggest fear. Beyond that, I'm not afraid of any of it, really. I know we're doing what we're meant to be doing. I know that this is 100% our purpose. What we're doing is having an impact on people. I see it every day. I see the connections they're making with each other. They're supporting each other's businesses. We went to a online event last night, and of the 7 people that were there, 2 of them I know had met this woman through us. So I know everything else is what it's supposed to be, and it's really just a matter of, like, as women of a certain age, it gets more, it's always harder for women to make money, and to make an equal salary to men. As we get older, it gets harder for us to make money, and to earn what we are worth. And then to have the entrepreneurial element to it just adds to that challenge. So we're determined to show people that you can do something that's socially conscious and good in its heart and thrive. And then while we're thriving, be able to support other women who are trying to thrive by supporting their businesses and hiring them. And so that's the one big fear I have, Nan. I don't know how about you.
Absolutely. That's the fear. Is the money going to come in? That's always the fear. I've lived with that fear as an entrepreneur for close to 40 years. And the money always comes in. It always does. Like it just follow your passions. If you're doing what you love, the money will come. I know it's been said for decades and it's true, you know. So there are scary times when, you know, the country's in turmoil, there's recession, there's inflation, whatever it is that's affecting everybody. People don't have the expendable income, but it always works out. So that's one of our mother's favorite sayings. It always works out.
Everything happens for a
And
reason.
everything's figure outable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and part of what we are doing with the Passionistas Project is creating a microeconomy of Passionistas buying from Passionistas. So if you're looking for a life coach and you're in the Passionistas Project Sisterhood, there are many different coaches. There are financial coaches, there are spiritual coaches, there are business coaches. Like, check out with each other to see if anybody can do what you need. You need someone who helps create content for the internet. We've got those people. You're looking for an animator. We have an animator. You're looking for a farmer. We've got two farmers. So, we're trying to encourage women to buy each other's services, to buy each other's products so that the money stays in the pool rather than going to a big box store or supporting some faceless corporation. Like, buy your coffee from a woman who's in the sisterhood and you're helping her. She'll in turn want to help you.
Yeah, I like that philosophy. And I've seen that in other communities as well. Like, how can we support each other? And it makes sense, to do that. And I want to go back to the money thing just for a minute, because I think there's a practicality to it. Maybe that people who are considering entrepreneurship, that they haven't really thought about it yet. Like, I want to take this leap, but I don't know if I'm going to make it financially, but there's some preparation there. I mean, did you guys, right? Like, you don't just jump off the cliff.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back when we took our leap and left our, high-paying jobs, we both made sure before we did that we had a nest egg, that we had the money to survive for a little while, and that we had some way to have a little bit of money coming in, even if it wasn't enough to pay the bills. But between that little bit of money coming in and what we had put aside to get us through the first bit of time, that we knew we could make it. And Amy and I are both very cautious with money. Even when we were making lots of money, we weren't shopping at expensive stores. We were Target girls. We were like Old Navy girls, like, so
Yeah.
I think because we are very budget conscious to begin with, we were able to get through the lean years and make sure that we weren't overspending. And that's always sort of been our philosophy. So I think that you have to do that. We've also never borrowed money, which is not always possible when you're an entrepreneur. I mean, I think a lot of times, maybe it's a smarter way to go. Maybe don't listen to me, because maybe if we had had a bigger pot, we would have had greater success faster. But I'm always the kind of person that I don't want to be indebted to somebody or something. Yes, I have a mortgage on my house, but that's about it. So I think because we didn't overspend and overextend ourselves, we were able to get through those leaner times as well.
Yeah, that's great. And also I think some entrepreneurs, they trust people that they don't know very well. They go ahead and pay them for things that maybe they don't really need. I've seen this happen in my local area. So I know that happens. So I guess, ladies, be cautious out there, like, be prepared and still take the leap. Maybe get some help as you are moving forward and learning how to be a business person and an entrepreneur. And like you said, it's it's not like a smooth road. It has all these ups and downs. Um, so have you noticed, like, since you made this leap, have you noticed any changes in your overall well-being, mentally, emotionally, or even physically since making this shift?
Yeah, I mean, I think emotionally, we were both in very high pressure jobs and handled that very well, all things considered. Um, but I, for one, only worked, I had friends who tended to be people I worked with. Um, but I didn't have like a personal life. And I spent all of my time either at work, and I'm talking like 80-hour, 90-hour work weeks, um, either at work or with my friends who I worked with talking about work. Um, and so for me personally, part of the decision to leave that behind was like, I want to have some kind of a life. Nancy moving to LA, certainly part of it was wanting to work with her, and also part of it was like, oh, there's somebody outside of my work bubble that I really want to spend more time with. And then that led to me getting into a relationship that's now lasted 21 years. So, I personally I have more balance if, you know, I think the word balance is kind of a fallacy, but I have more beyond that work bubble. So my support system, emotional support system is much stronger. And not just with Nancy and my boyfriend, but also just with the community that we've created in general. Like I just now have so many women, Nancy and I have so many women that we can lean on, that can lean on us. So we went from having, because there are five of us kids in our family, we went from having four siblings, three other siblings, to having, a spider web of a network of sisters all around the world. And so that's just improved my mental health exponentially. My physical health, I should probably walk a lot more than I do. I'm trying to eat spinach. But that's a different story. But my mental health for sure.
Oh, that's wonderful. Nancy, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think along the similar lines, I have always been a loner. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. I like working alone. I work in silence. I'm not good with noisy spaces. Um, and and I had my siblings and I had a couple of select friends, but um, I think there was always a little part of me that felt a little lonely and felt a little bit like, I don't have friends, what's wrong with me kind of thing. And creating this community of women who are truly, like many of them are truly now dear, dear friends. Some of them we've never met in person, but I've it's improved my emotional and mental health so much in just having these dear friendships. And yes, I've had my siblings, I've had Amy. I literally don't need any more than Amy in my life and my siblings and my husband. I mean, it's enough. It's more than one person should be blessed with. But to now have all of these women who are dear friends, and I know that they're there if I need something. I can call them, and to have that support is really amazing. It's and same as Amy, I've had through the years, I've had years where I was in very, very, very good health, and I have not been doing that lately. So the walking and the spinach, good idea.
I also want to add too, like it's the part of the reason that we started the sisterhood is because people when we went back to like what are our core values when we were rebranding a couple years ago, it was like the core of who Nancy and I are is our sisterhood. And it's this relationship we have. And as sisters, but also as business partners who, most women who are entrepreneurs are out there doing it all by themselves, and they have very little support work-wise, but they also, maybe there are people who are like, oh, you're going to start a company. That's great. But aren't as supportive as you really need them to be. They just don't, they're worried for you or whatever it is. So we kept hearing two things. One is that everybody wished they had what we have, which is this constant support, built-in support. And the other was that they felt really lonely. They felt really alone in what they were doing. And so we realized that this sisterhood that we have is something that we're really good at. It's probably what the best thing we do. It's our greatest skill is being sisters. And so we were like, well, we can give people a sisterhood. We can give them a place to come and feel less alone and get the support. Like you were saying, like, how do you go online and find a business coach? You know, it's like there are a bunch of people out there who are scammers, or they're, how do you know the person's the right fit? And in a community like ours, it's like, oh, tell me what you're looking for, and we can vouch for this person and tell you that we've worked with them, or that, you know, we know them as a human being and they're lovely. And so it just, we're seeing the benefits to everybody's mental health by being there, and we've created a space where it's okay to really talk about how you're feeling, and you don't have to come, and it's not a, there is business development, but it's not a place where you have to come in and be a buttoned up business person. You can come and be messy and get support, and it's encouraged and embraced.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think entrepreneurs do need, and is this just entrepreneurs, or is this women who of all kinds, like employed women, any kind of women, right?
Yeah, it's everyone. I mean, our biggest group of women probably is entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs. But yes, we have women that are in the corporate world and need a space where they can go and be like, blah, this is happening to me, and I can't talk to anyone at work about it,
Yeah.
or artists or activists or people like that. So yeah, we have a whole range of women in the sisterhood.
Yeah, I do think it's important to have communication. And we actually in Phoenix, I don't know if you know this, but we're just a huge networking town here. There are so many groups here, women's groups and all kinds of groups. But it's really nice too to have more of an international group, like a bigger group, one that's virtual, particularly if you can serve people all over the world in what you do. So that's very cool. Um, I want you to talk more about the Passionistas Project, but before you do that, what advice would you give someone who is considering making a career shift, a big, change? And what would you tell them?
I mean, I'd say go for it. I think that life is way too short to be doing something that doesn't fulfill you anymore. You know, it's how the amount of time we spend working and the people that we spend our days with at work, you know, it's the majority of our lives. And if you're not happy, then you've got to make the shift. And like you said, you have to set yourself up so that you're comfortable, whatever your comfort level is. Some people are just like, I'm doing it and I'll figure it out. Some people, it's like, I'm going to do this in 6 months. I'm going to make sure I have a nest egg, and then I'm going to make the move. You know, Nancy and I have always had clients on the side while we've been building the Passionistas project so that there was some stability. But you know, if you're passionate about something, especially if it's like you know where you're going to, um, then make the shift. And, you know, it's a journey. You don't have to do one thing forever, and try it. What's the worst thing that happens? It doesn't work out. You try something else, you move on to the next thing. But if you don't do it, you're always going to wonder what would have happened if you had done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would add two things to that. One is one of my favorite sayings, which tags onto what Amy was just saying, which is done is better than perfect. So don't wait till you know every single thing and you have every single answer and you have it all worked out. You're not going to know everything. So it comes a point where you do have to take that leap of faith and just start. And the other thing is to find your people, find that support system, whether that is family and friends who are like truly behind you, not just lip service, but truly believe in what you're doing and willing to help you through the highs and the lows, or it is a networking group or a group like the Passionistas Project. But find those people that are going to be there to support you, because you cannot do it alone. You need, even if it's just someone to listen when you're having a hard time, but you need that support system. So make sure you have some people around you that really believe in what you're doing.
And what would you say about belief? I mean, like having the belief in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the women in our community talk about things like this, and Dr. Melissa Bird always says, "Go with your gut." It's like, you know the feeling of excitement and nervousness versus the feeling of your gut either saying like, "This is right for me," or "Ooh, I don't feel good about this." Um, you gotta trust your instinct, and somebody gave us this idea once, and I absolutely love it, which is make a list of everything you've ever accomplished in your life. If you're really doubting yourself, like, and that could be like you won the third grade spelling bee
Yes.
and you helped an old lady across the street and felt like a good person. Like, what are those things that you've done in your life that have been your wins? It's why we have in our community, we have a wall of women's wins where people can post big things or small things that are accomplishments that they've had that they're proud of. And when you start to write out that timeline and you see all that you've done and all the things you've overcome and all the successes you've had, whether they're big or small, it'll help you realize like you can get through anything. And so why can't you do this? Why is this the thing that's all of a sudden going to knock you on your butt? Like, you can do this. You just got to believe in yourself. And there are days where that will be shaken, but you get up the next day and you remind yourself that you're amazing and you can do it.
One of the greatest things I learned in the last year was that a leader's job is to stay encouraged. And I fell in love with that quote because I realized, yeah, we do get discouraged on a daily basis sometimes. I also learned just today, I was listening to a talk on leadership, and it's like, I didn't used to think I was a leader, but what happened was I went out and started taking action. And when you start taking action and when you start learning and you start becoming the person that you want to become, you turn into that leader. Like it just happens. So it's an interesting thing, but I think you're right. You need to take the leap. You need to take the action, believe in yourself, get the support, stay encouraged, and all of that stuff. So um, you're such a great example of having done that. And I want to, so tell us more about the Passionistas Project. Anything you want to say about it? Yeah.
Yeah, the Passionistas Project, like we said, it started with a podcast. We still do the podcast. We interview a different woman every week who's following her passions, and the women are incredible. And we also do an annual Women's Equality Summit where we bring people from marginalized communities together and we give them a topic. They tell their story around that topic, and then they have a roundtable conversation, because we are really at the heart of what we do. We want to support the women who aren't getting the seat at the table or the platform to tell their story, the voices that aren't heard. And so by doing this, by bringing them together, we can see the things that set us each apart, but also the common bonds and the things that bring us together because we're stronger together. So we have our Women's Equality Summit every year. And then we started a year ago, we started the community. So it's an online platform. If you go there, it looks very similar to a Facebook. It's got your wall where people are posting. But what sets it apart is it doesn't have the noise. It doesn't have the ads of Facebook. It doesn't have the algorithms of, oh, you didn't get enough likes or people didn't share it. And it's just a place where you can express yourself. You can talk about what you're doing. You can plug your next event. You can do whatever you want. Our only rule is that you need to be kind and respectful to people. And it's a beautiful space where people support you and love you. And have ideas and thoughts, and have you tried this? How about this? Check out this person. And it's a really beautiful community of women supporting one another. And we have workshops. We have the Passionistas Podcast Network, so women who have their own podcasts can come and meet other podcasts and do pod swaps and meet people to be guests on their podcasts. We have Passionistas TV, which is the Women's Empowerment Network. So all of our power Passionistas who are experts in our community have TV shows on all sorts of different topics. And we have what else? Oh, we have a directory, like Amy was saying, because we want to create this microeconomy where women are buying from each other, so women can get listed in our directory and people can find them there. So yeah, it's an amazing space that we dreamt up and we weren't sure we could make it work. And we have friends who have told us since that they didn't know that we could make it work, but they supported us anyway. And it's working. It's beautiful to see it happening.
Well, I love that. I love all that you're offering for women, and entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs and women who are just seeking support. Another thing I heard recently was, you have to have a vision. So once you have a vision and you express that vision, then you enlist others into your vision, right? Which is exactly what you guys have done, gals. And then it comes to fruition, and people will doubt you, and you'll doubt yourself, and all of that. But then you just keep going, and voila, here it is.
Yep. You wake up one day and there it is. Yeah, it was important to us because, Nancy and I aren't life coaches. We're not financial experts. We're not, like experienced activists. And I will say the platform is business development, personal growth, and social impact. So it's not just a networking site. It's a place where you can come for all of those things because that's what our women are interested in. They see it as we do, that all those things go hand in hand. And so it was important to us that that the space reflected that and gave them the opportunities to speak on all those topics, to share on all those topics. And it's a beautiful thing. It's really unique. And we, like Nancy said, we broke it down like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. This is how it's going to be different. And especially now as you're seeing social media shift and a lot of people are leaving social media, they're coming to us and saying, I left Facebook, I left Instagram, and now this is the only place I come. And this is where I come for connection. And so that really means a lot. And it's something that we didn't expect when we started it. That wasn't really on the horizon, that people were going to turn away from traditional social media so, completely. And so it's really nice to have created a space beyond our wildest imagination. So our vision has come true, but it's even, again, I think it's that belief of like, oh, this is going to be an element of it now too. Okay, all right, let's work that in. You have to be flexible in what your vision is to, and just again follow your gut that you're doing it the right way.
Yeah. So what are those three things again? Personal development. Did you say business development, personal development? Tell me what you said again.
Yeah, it's business development, personal growth, and social impact. So we have a lot of, like this month and next month we're really focusing a lot of our workshops on money related stuff because everybody's got taxes on their mind and the economy is, a little tough right now. So we're talking a lot about business finance and personal finance. We have personal growth. We've done like tapping workshops. We have done meditations. We talk a lot about, we have a woman named Dr. Melissa Bird in our sisterhood who's one of our power passionistas who talks about the graceful revolution and following your gut and connecting to nature and things like that. And then there's a level of membership that, there's a part of the group, and it's a large part of the group that really is just concerned about social issues and not necessarily politically aligned, although we tend to be a liberal membership, but just concerned about women's issues and the good of other people. So part of the the core of the Passionistas Project, as Nancy has said, is storytelling and giving women who don't often get a chance to speak for themselves a platform. So we have a lot of Latina women who are talking about their concerns about immigration, or we have, a lot of women over 50 who are navigating these issues that are coming up about Social Security or Medicare or insurance and what's going on. And a lot of LGBTQ people who are feeling unsure about, the issues affecting them. So it's a place where people can talk about those things. And it's so intertwined. I mean, you're stressed about a social issue, your personal health and mental health are going to be impacted by that. And all of these social things that are happening are impacting people's businesses. So it's a very intertwined, you know, set of topics that that we have managed to bring together. And like Nancy said, everybody's super respectful. So if there's some people that are just there for business development, they don't get involved in any of the social issue stuff. Or there's some people who are just super social, really focused on social impact and are retired and don't really care about the entrepreneurial stuff. But people are meeting the people they're supposed to meet on whatever level that is. So.
And then your membership is it tiered? Like you have a free membership and then you have paid memberships and that kind of thing? And they can find out, okay, so let's direct people to all your places. So the website is called what?
Website is thepassionistasproject.com.
Okay.
You go there, you'll find a link directly to the sisterhood and if you go to the sisterhood, you can find ways to sign up for a free membership or for the premium membership. And the premium membership, the free membership is really robust. In fact, so robust that the majority of our women are just in the free membership. But the premium membership, we are now, after our first year, we are now able to spend a little bit more time concentrating on what those benefits are that the premium membership really makes valuable. So that's where Passionistas TV is. That's where the podcast network is. That's where the workshops are. So if you're looking just for the connection and the network, the free membership is a beautiful place to be. If you want all those other resources, that's what the premium network is for. So on our website, you can find the link to that. And you can also find all of our social media links and, LinkedIn, Facebook, we're not on Twitter anymore, but Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So yeah, that's the easiest place to find us is thepassionistasproject.com.
Okay. And your podcast is on there as well, right?
Podcast is on there as well. Yep.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, ladies, thank you so much for sharing your story with me. I should say Amy and Nancy. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my golden life your transition into a fabulous different career that's been beneficial in mind, body, and spirit. And yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us. It was great talking with you.
My pleasure. All right. Well, everyone who has listened, thank you so much for being with us today. I am looking to end this recording, but come back next time and we'll have another guest or another topic. And I appreciate you so much. All right. Bye-bye. Here we go.